Hey, it's Kelsey. I just wanted to get on here really quick because I just got through watching The Other Black Girl. It's based off of a book. Shoot, I can't think of the name of the author, but it's based off of a book written by a black woman, and it talks about um, it follows the life of Nella, and she works in a corporate job, a white corporate job, and another black girl is introduced into the company. And it talks about the struggles and the complications of being the only black person within that company and things like that. And I'm not going to give too much of the spoilers, but it's a good book. I read it through audiobook. And I enjoyed listening to it. It was really good, and I knew old girl was something was fishy about it. Something was fishy, but after I read the book, I was like, okay, well, let me see what the TV show was talking about. If it's the exact same or whatever. So I was watching it, and you know how they say that the book is better than the series. I don't know. I like the fact that they didn't do exactly the same thing as the book said. They kind of switched it up, but they still put in different elements to make it work. So it's like the TV show is its own entity, but it still pulls from the book, and the book is its own entity. So they're both the same, but they just have different things that they touch on that develops the story. So so I like both. So I just got through watching the last episode of season 1 for The Other Black Girl. And I ain't going to lie to you, I'm upset because I just did a review, or no, I didn't do a review, but I just looked up on Google to see if they were going to do a season 2, or if they was going to come out with a new episode or what. It got canceled. It got canceled, and the last episode, it's like leaving you on a cliffhanger. So, and I mean, I kind of, most people don't know that their show is going to get canceled until whenever. But for me, and I understand the money aspects of it, it might not be doing well money wise. It might not be giving like a lot of viewership and stuff like that. But for me, being a fan and also a person that enjoys film and the arts and stuff like that, I need closure. But that's also a human thing too. Like, we need closure no matter how that closure is. Like, I just got through watching That's So Raven a couple of days ago. And I did the research, and I seen that the last episode, well, even when I was younger, like, I knew what the last episode was, but rewatching it in my adulthood, it's like that's not really me personally. I just don't think I would have ended it that way on how they ended it. Where they thought Corey was smoking, but then it was actually Cindy and stuff like that. And then it was like, that's it. That's the end of this series. And it's like, y'all couldn't have thought of a better ending. Again, like, nobody knows when their show is going to end, but they should end it in a way that doesn't leave people on cliffhangers. Or at least if they leave it on a cliffhanger, at least make one more episode and then end it. It's the same thing with Girlfriends. I've When did I rewatch Girlfriends? I think it was like a year ago or a year and a half ago. I had rewatched the whole series of Girlfriends on Netflix. And it's the same thing where, again, you don't know that the show is ending, but it left you with questions. Cause Joan, she either had gotten married or something. I know her fiance or her boyfriend or whatever had been deployed and he was coming back, and he sent her a letter saying, "Hey, I'm coming back." And that was it. End of the series. And it's like, "What?" I'm trying to think what else. Jimmy Neutron. Technically, the last episode was the Jimmy Timmy hour, and I watched it, but I just didn't really care for a couple of the Jimmy Timmy hours because they had three, and I didn't care for the last one. I just, no. But even the Jimmy Timmy hour, no, it Jimmy Neutron didn't end well for me. I'm trying to think what else. What was another one? What was another one? It's kind of like, so Hannah Montana, she got her ending. Zach and Cody got their ending, but they also had a spinoff. Who was another one? I don't know about Wizards of Waverly Place because that's when I was like a teenager. Like I was still a preteen, but I was more in the teenagers, so I wasn't really checking for Disney Channel like that. Um, Kim Possible got her ending. Everybody else got their ending. Different World got their ending, which ended on a good part. Living Single got their ending. So it's like these other shows that might not have been great, but still good, they deserve a good ending. Or at least just a good closure. So like with That So Raven, in my opinion, the last episode should have been, since the third to last episode was her getting her job back with Donna Cabana. What the last episode could have been was her getting accepted into a fashion school, or Donna giving her a letter of recommendation and sending her to Paris for fashion school or something. And then of course, her psychic antics of something where it went awry. It would have that would have been a good ending because she graduate college, and then she goes on and does her thing, and then it spins off into Corey in the White House, and Victor being the chef and all that stuff. Would have been all right. I would have been satisfied with that. Even with Jimmy Neutron, which I don't know how they would have ended that. Honestly, that would have been hard to kind of end. But I don't know. It should have had a better ending than what it did. Cause then when Jimmy and Timmy, when they did their hour, then Timmy kept on going. He still had seasons. But Jimmy didn't have no seasons after that. It was just, that was it. Who else did I say? Mm, this one, um, the other black girl, I just feel like they should do another season. Just another season to kind of go along the lines of what they are trying to do with it. Like the last episode, the continuation of the last episode, just go ahead and get that part done and then be like, okay, that's it. It would just, it would, one, finish the story, two, finish the series, but also give that closure that is needed instead of just leaving it on a cliffhanger and then just having us um, second guessing. Even um, Girlfriends, I don't know how they would have ended it because they had an episode of Girlfriends that was transitioning into the game. So they probably could have just left it off of that. Finish out, you know, Maya and Lynn and Joan's story, and then slowly transitioned into the game story. But I just don't know how that would have panned out as far as creativity wise on what would have been the best closure for all of them and whatever. But yeah, that's the frustrating part because they got good stories. And again, you don't know when your show is going to get canceled, but it would still make sense to, hey, if we get canceled, this is the direction that we're going into. Because there's a whole bunch of shows out there that need to be canceled or that should have been canceled a long time ago, but they still going. So, and that's a whole nother thing. But I don't really watch TV that much. Like I still stick to the nostalgias. And maybe that's just me wanting to stay within that field or stay in that nostalgia train. But I mean, sometimes you can't recreate old. You can't recreate old. You just got to leave it where it is. That's just like I said I wasn't going to watch Raven's Home. And I've seen clips of it on YouTube and things like that. And I think also TikTok when I had it. It just don't hit the same. It's almost like they're wanting to recreate That's So Raven and just modernize it. Whereas That's So Raven has already been done. And granted, Raven's Home is basically her son having visions and stuff like that. But it's like, it's already been done. Like the same antics that you was doing as a kid, your son is doing it now. Unless he was doing it differently, but it just seems like it's the same thing. I mean, granted, if your powers went away and his came up, then okay, but it's still not. From my understanding, she still had visions. But again, I haven't watched it. Am I going to watch it? No. But I I don't know. Like I said, I'm still watching reruns. I still watch I Love Lucy. I just like the classics. What can I say? But yeah, that's all I wanted to talk about. That's all I wanted to talk about was my frustration with them ending the show on a cliffhanger after one season. And it was good. I felt like it was a good show. And it made sense. If you read the book, reading it from the lens of a black woman in a corporate job, it makes sense for um, Hazel to make that decision or to gather black women together so they can succeed in corporate positions and get what they want in life. But to me, life is about ebbs and flows. Yeah, you don't want to always talk about the struggles of being the only one or the struggles that black people have or the struggles that Mexican people have or the struggles that Asian people have. No, we don't want to always talk about that. But we can't we can't fight the fact that there are struggles if you are a person of color. I'm not saying that white people don't have struggles either, but for a person of color, you have to take on a lot more, not just by society wise, but also family wise as well. Like your family looks at you to succeed, period, because of the color of your skin, but also because to stop the stereotype of that. So it makes sense why a lot of the women in the book chose to do that. Now, would I do it? No. because I I understand that there's sacrifices that needs to be made, but I also don't want to get away from me. Granted, if I did change my ways and start to appease other people on how I should be living my life, then I'm not being true to myself. And maybe if I did appease to other people, I'd be a lot further than where I am, but I'm content with where I am now. Do I want better for myself? Of course, but I'm not going to sell my soul for it. Because when you sell your soul, you're gonna have to keep up that repetition. That's just like lying. You can't lie once. You're gonna keep on lying, keep on lying, keep on lying, and you have to keep up with that same story. I ain't that good of a storyteller. So but no, it was a good series. Like I said, I really like the show aspect of it. The show was something different than what the book was telling, but it also helped piece when you're listening to it in audiobooks. There was a couple of parts where I was like, "Wait, what?" But I feel like maybe because I wasn't paying much attention, because it is an audiobook and you could be doing like different things, but there was certain parts of the story where I'm like, "Wait, what? Is that her or is that somebody else or what's going on here?" So the show explained the characters a little better and distinguished which ones you were viewing or reading. And again, it's probably because of, listening to it and not actually reading, to where you can see like the font changes, or the person's name, or certain things that you can see in the actual book rather than listening to the book. But I don't think I would have done it. There's nothing to me that's necessarily important that I would want from a corporate job that I would sacrifice my soul for. You know, she was Nella was an assistant to a editor at Wagner Books, and then she went on to do big things and great things. And that's what she wanted. But me personally, I don't want to be the CEO. I don't know if I want to be the CFO. I don't mind being the CEO's second person in command, or the second hand, or the right hand. I just don't see myself as a CEO of a company that I didn't build. Just me personally. Me personally. So when it comes to like climbing the corporate ladder, I just don't see that for myself. Granted, I want to make money enough to sustain a living and take care of myself and to be able to afford certain luxuries, but that's not climbing the corporate ladder for me. There's other people that want to do that, but no. But more power to you, because there's some people that just need to be just basic workers, and there's other people that need to be CEOs, and there's some people that just need to be in the middle. I don't know if I'm in the middle, and I don't know if I'm a basic worker, but it is what it is. But anyway, yeah. Like I said, if I was to go back in time and rewrite all of the endings for the shows, like I said, oh, that's what I was getting ready to say. So like I know with That's So Raven, Raven was, well, one, she was a part of the Cheetah Girls franchise, one and two, and then she left three. And speaking of that, I'm not watching Cheetah Girls 3. When they went to India, nothing against the Indian people or the Middle Eastern people, excuse me. But when Raven left, I left too. Nothing against the other girls or whatever, but nah, Gabriella left and I left right along with her. She went off to college, and I guess I went to college too. But during the time of That's So Raven was being made, she was also doing Cheetah Girls. She was also doing Kim Possible. So like she had other projects. And it's the same thing with Orlando Brown. And I'm just talking about the work side of things, not his personal. But like even he had different projects. He was doing the Proud Family. Doing he was doing his music. He was also doing another cartoon. So like he had different projects that he was doing at the same time along with doing That So Raven. And I don't know about the girl that played Chelsea. I don't know what she was doing. But even Corey, like Kyle Massey, his brother was on Nickelodeon's Zoe 101. So even he had different things. And he also did Corey in the House, where him and his dad went to the White House. So like they had different projects and different things that was going on in their lives. So I understand as far as the last episode being the cutoff and not getting that closure, but it just would have been nice to get that closure to where it makes sense. And especially since they was going to be, and they probably didn't know back then that they was going to be revamping that So Raven franchise, but it would have been nice if they would have had something to play on for this new series or this revamp that they was calling themselves doing. So it makes sense as the reason why they ended it the way they did, because the actors had different projects and maybe the directors and the people behind the scenes had different projects, so they couldn't put as much creativity or as much time into it as they did before. So I did like the fact that they did bring Tanya back on That So Raven for Raven's Home, because she left abruptly. Like when I rewatched it as a kid, I didn't even think about her. I didn't think about her studying law in, I think it was London. They said that she went to, but when I rewatched it as an adult, it was like, oh shoot, she went to London to study law. I mean, that makes sense because study abroad programs. But then it's like when you watching it, when you watch the new episode, the Raven's Home franchise, it's like, dang, you've been in. Raven was, we'll say 18 when the show ended. She was like 18, 19, 20 in the show. So then Raven's Home, let's say she's like mid 30s, early 40s. So yo butt been in London for 20 plus years? And you ain't never came back, ain't said dog kiss my foot, nothing? Mm. But like I said, that's the story they want to stick with, and I guess we'll stick with it. But but yeah. Yeah. And then what was another one that ended abruptly? There was another show that ended abruptly. I know I said Girlfriends, but there's another show that ended abruptly that just didn't make sense. But I can't think about it. But like that's what I would do for That So Raven. And then um I already talked about the one. But yeah, yeah. In other news though, I'm on spring break and it's slowly but surely getting to that time of finals, but all finals and final projects and things like that. And then also planning out classes for next year. I am going to be going back to school next year. Thank God for that. And this time around, I do want to take like another fashion course. So I'm doing a job shadowing course, and I want to do a fashion course. But this third one, I'm debating between painting or I don't want to take no math. Cuz if I take math, I can't take 3 classes. I just it's a no-go. It's a no-go. I at least got to do math and something else. Like, if it would be like math and painting, just something so I'm not consumed with just that. But then I'm thinking of like wanting to take ASL again, just so I can stay up to date on it, because there's a lot of people that I work with that use American Sign Language. And like, I know how to, excuse me, I took American Sign Language for 2 to 3 years, and I was really fluent in it. But then when I graduated, of course, I don't use it at home. So like, there's some things that I remember, and then there's other things that I don't remember, as far as like certain signs and how to do certain movements and things like that. Like, I know a little bit, but I can't remember a lot. So I don't know if I want to take American Sign Language again, just like as a refresher, or what. But I need to look through the catalog to see what's being offered, and then go ahead and register and stuff like that. And even then, like, I don't know. Shoot. I chose drawing one and fashion aesthetics, and then God chose interpersonal communication. And like, it's one of my favorite classes. Even though we really don't have like a lot to do. I mean, we got to read chapters that's almost 50 pages long, but like, the discussions that we have is pretty nice. We get to learn different techniques of communications and stuff like that. And it's not a class where we necessarily have to get up and present. We've only had to do it like a few times, but for the most part, like, it's not like it's not a hard class, but I actually like it. And I wanted to do painting just because, I would like to learn how to paint and do colors and stuff like that. Fashion merchandising, I feel as though that's something that it would be a nice skill to have in the long run, on what it is that I want to do, I guess. But I don't know. But other than that, what's something? And I'm going all over the place, but I kind of wanted to talk about it too, with in this aspect. I went to a therapy session last Tuesday actually. And when I went into therapy, now usually in the past I would have a list of things that I wanted to talk about, or certain things that had happened during the week or whatever. And going into this last therapy session, I felt ill prepared, but also confused, because it's like, I usually come prepared on things that I want to talk about, but this was more like a whatever comes up, comes up. And I guess that was okay. And we talked a little bit, but I also am giving her grace because I am still fairly new and she's still getting to know me and what I'm willing to talk about and what I'm not willing to talk about. So, and I told her, because she asked me how did I feel about the session. I said, well, I'm a little confused because usually I have a plan on what I want to talk about, yada yada yada. So before we ended, she asked me what did I want to talk about, and I said, well, I want to talk about my romantic relationships, or shoot, the lack thereof. um, and she said, okay. So I leave, and 2 days later, I get a text from somebody that I used to talk to or was in the stages of talking to. And it, speaking of closure, maybe that's why I'm so sensitive about shows closing and not really giving a good ending. This person reached out to me and it caught me by surprise, but it also made me think, well, why are you reaching out? I was under the impression that you didn't want to keep communicating. So it's weird that you, one, are reaching out, but also you're wanting to talk to me for what? I'm not opposed, but I'm just respecting what you said. You couldn't handle us being friends. So if you can't handle us being friends, then what does that mean for you? For me, if you can't handle us being friends, okay, then we're not friends. If I see you, I see you. I'm gonna say what's up, but from on my end, but on your end, what does that mean for you? Because I already told you I would like for us to be friends. Just because, we were cool. But on your end, you didn't want to do that. So it's like, okay, well, I'm respecting that you don't want to be friends. Okay. So reaching out to me now, it's like, well, why? Like, what's the goal here? Like, what? Anyway, I say all that to say it brought up a lot of emotions, but it also brought up a lot of feelings as well. And like I said, as much as we try to sit up there and say that closure isn't that big of a deal, closure is just as important as the opening. It really is. Now, granted, are we always going to get that closure? No. Are we always going to get the closure that we want? No. Are we always going to get the closure that we need? Sometimes. And I think, and I don't hate this person. I don't. If anything, there was times where I did wanted to reach out and, be that friend. But it's also like this person also made a decision, so they have to deal with the decision that they made. I can't always be the, what I want to say, I can't always be, I can't, what is it? How does the saying go? I'm trying to think of how the saying goes. Like, when you're chasing something and it's right in front of you and you just chasing and chasing and chasing and chasing and there's no way for you to even grab it. Sometimes you got to get off of that treadmill and either move on or find a different strategy to get what you want. And I got off the treadmill. Like, back in the past, yeah, I probably was that person that wanted to stick it out and be that person. But it's also, again, tracing back to the other black girl. I can't not be something that somebody else wants me to be, unless I want to be that. And I don't want to be that person that's always constantly running and checking on other people while I'm sitting up here hurt, putting damage on myself. It's like that rope metaphor where you hold on to that rope so long and tight that it starts, creating calluses on your fingers and stuff like that. And it's dang near irritating your skin. But then when you let go, all of it goes away. Or it doesn't go away all at once, but it slowly heals itself. And I'm not saying I'm perfect, nor did I ever agree that I was. Being perfect is hard to maintain, but I still care for this person on a friendship level. I really do hope the best for him. I mean, and like I said, I don't hate him. I just think that at the time we had two different goals, and that we were better off as friends in the beginning. And I think that's what it should have stayed. Just because of the situation that we were in, it should have just stayed where it was. Because it could have complicated things. And it did. It did. I'm not even gonna lie. It did complicate how things. It just complicated things. And people just didn't know how to navigate the complication. And I would say I didn't know how to set the boundary. And yeah. Yeah. But I will say that the closure that I had was more so within of allowing myself to not get the best of me, but also to show compassion towards the person. If that makes sense. I don't want to go too much into detail just because it's been I mean, honestly, it hasn't really been a year, but it's because I care about this person, it does affect me in a sense of I don't want to hurt their feelings, but it's also like maybe their feelings do need to get hurt to actually realize that the way that they handled it and the way that they did things wasn't wasn't good on my end, their end, or anybody's end. It wasn't ideal. So, going back to what I was originally talking about. um yeah, um I don't like how they ended it. I don't like how they ended the show or shows because I talked about that. So Raven, I talked about, and I don't know how they ended. Hey Arnold. Oh, even Rugrats, like the all grown up ones. Like I don't know how they could have ended that either. But I think they should do, in my honest opinion, I think they should just do one more season to finish it out and then end it. On a high note or whatever. Even if it's just like, I don't know, season 2 has like 4 to 5 episodes. Just throwing it out there. But I feel like they also got to find somebody that wants to write it too. So you got to find people. And that might have also been when that whole strike happened too. Because the show came out in 2023. And I don't know when the strike happened. So a lot of writers was on strike. So now, you know, I don't think they on strike anymore. But shoot, now they got a chance to. So, but yeah, that's it. Anyway, I better get on up out of here. I'm gonna start watching some Hey Arnold before I get all showered up and get ready for work. So, till next time.